There we go. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. Tonight's another edition of Hong Kong House of Cards, Asian Triad slash Hessian slash Underworld edition, where the illustrious Ping Mai, the youngest and most powerful overboss of the Triad in Hong Kong, has summoned Zhan, because his last name eludes me right now, or
Shushan.
Zhan Shushan, to meet with him over circumstances happening in the city that he feels he needs to be made aware of, as well as things that Ping Mai wants to find out on his own. So you and your entourage head to a local bar that really doesn't get a lot of attention, and there's a reason why it doesn't. The bar has two tall men standing outside, both of them Asian, both wielding assault rifles over their shoulders. Now, in any other situation, this would be something that would make people afraid and probably get the cops called. But given who owned the bar, not so much. Once inside the bar, there's women walking around in different types of costumes, serving drinks to people, both men and women. There are even a couple of guys dressed up in costumes serving drinks and playing with the customers as well. Once you get to the back area, though, there's a door and a stairwell. So go ahead. I don't know if you're going to interact with any of the people on your way in. More than likely, your guards will go off and mingle with their fellow Triad brethren, as pretty much everybody.
I was going to say basically Zahn will kind of turn. He's probably only brought he has two guards and his attaché, and he'll basically say, no, go and enjoy yourselves, and he'll peel off a couple of notes and put them behind the bar for their drinks for the evening.
Right. Well, the bar is basically all Triad. I mean, technically, even the people that are running around and doing stuff, working there, are Triad as well. Anybody in this bar right now could be called upon to do anything. So, as you head back and enter get to the door, you'll see a slender person with tattoos running up his arms, wearing a vest and a tank top and jeans. Looks very street thuggish. You would know that this was a Tong. This guy was originally sent by Ping Mai to infiltrate the Tong before certain circumstances occurred in the city, such as the Tong getting wiped out.
Ever so slight issue there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he'll open the door and allow you in, and there's a staircase up, and it actually goes to the building right behind the bar. There's like this little breezeway thing that's all enclosed with a couple of windows that leads into the back of the building, which leads to the hotel behind the bar.
Okay.
Now, this has become kind of a communal holdup for Triad members that are on the lam, Triad members that don't want their presence known in the city, things like that. It's also where Ping Mai has his home, because nobody's ever actually gone to Ping Mai's house itself. They've always assumed that he lives there. Once you go through, there's a guard waiting by an elevator and then a set of doors around. He'll look to Zhan and say, "You're here to see the boss, right?"
Yes.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, nothing. I was just saying he nods and kind of,
All right. He'll pull out a key and press a button, and the doors will open. He'll motion you to go in.
Zahn will do so.
There's only one button on this elevator, and it says top floor, or it says TL for top floor.
Cool. We'll press the button.
All right, you head up about 3 stories, and then once you get out, you are looking at one hallway leading down to a door. Standing on either side of the door are 2 extremely well-built Asian gentlemen one that seems to be carrying a SPAS 12. You know what SPAS 12 is, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. The other one is carrying a H&K MP5. So weapons that are meant for less accuracy and more close quarter damage.
Considering it's a narrow hallway, I don't suppose accuracy is much of an issue.
No, definitely not. It's all about the amount of rounds and the amount of damage you can do in one sitting. You head down there, they'll look you over, nod, because of course they would recognize you, and you would recognize them. These are Ping Mai's two top guards. Like, these are the ones that go everywhere with him. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Zahn will kind of nod to them both very respectfully and say, "Is the master ready to receive me?"
One will knock on the door, and you'll hear a buzzer, and the door will open.
That answers that question.
So the door opens, and you see. You heard my description of Ping Mai before, right?
Yeah.
He's sitting behind his desk. There's a rocket launcher laid across the desk. It's a multi-clip one. It's like the ones that has the fed RPGs into it. Like an RPG magazine. It's single shot, but in this room, there's no way to escape any type of damage whatsoever unless you're behind the desk firing it. Hanging on the wall behind him is an Avenger minigun, and it looks like it's been specifically weighted to be hand portable. Ping Mai will look at John and say, "Please have a seat."
Zahn will walk into the room and he will give a respectful bow about halfway before he will walk forward and take a seat.
Can I get you anything to drink?
No, sir. I'm quite all right, thank you.
He'll reach over to a clear draft bottle, kind of like what people will uncork brandy and put into, uncap it and pour it into a snifter glass and lift it up and say, "To your continued success."
And to yours, sir.
He'll take a sip of it and set it down. "So I understand you have some news for me."
Yes. Zahn kind of takes on a more relaxed demeanor. He will remove from the inside robe of his pocket 2 business cards, but before he hands them over, he will say, "You read my previous message, of course, about the, shall we say, flying rodent infestation."
Yes, I've got round-the-clock sniper support on that.
Yes, needless to say, we're slightly disconcerted as to that, but I have good news, I suppose, in regards to these entities. They wanted my help to keep a little, I'm not sure if the word base would be appropriate, a decommissioned ship on the docks safe. So I gave them a little bit of a help. And in exchange, they've promised me one of their new, how would one describe it? It's more advanced than thermo optics, camouflage suit.
Camouflage suit.
It can literally, as I said, more advanced. It literally makes the incumbent completely invisible. And I'm to understand jams most other forms of detection as well.
Other forms of detection. This sounds like the things that they make in the Innovatech Tower.
Zahn contemplates and says, "That could be apt."
Well, if you can get this technology from them, it's worth whatever price needs to be paid.
Yes, I said that if it was given, I said if we had it looked at, we might be able to come up with some kind of countermeasure to it.
Countermeasure. That's a good idea.
Yeah. I do traditionally have those, sir.
I'd never said you didn't.
But needless to say, once the technology is analyzed and whatever else have you, we will have a more clear view of what we're facing when it comes to, as you've pointed out, those in the tower.
I still don't know what their plan is. They seem to have something that they want to do with the beings at the museum.
Zahn contemplates. As a matter of fact, it has come to my attention that the entities in the museum have recently overcome a rather notable stronghold of the individuals who reside in the tower, or derivatives thereof. Perhaps if computer files were taken, they might have some idea what they're planning or some idea of what they're currently up to if I could liberate those files.
Any information you acquire will be greatly prized by this organization, as well as any things that could be of use.
He'll once again nod respectfully. On another note, he will slide the first business card across the table. This is going to be Marcus's business card.
He'll pick it up and look at it.
This individual has a, as he puts it himself, a not too, how would one phrase, a not too unconsiderable amount of mercenary forces currently in the Docklands. I thought that it might be useful in the case that Gwylo cannon fodder was needed.
You know how I feel about putting prices on human life. Are they associated with the tower, or are they associated with the museum?
By the way, how does he feel about putting prices on human life?
He's kind of one of those few bleeding hearts who thinks that life should be spent well and wisely, not traded for minor things.
Okay.
It's why he will. If somebody owes him money, he'll never kill them because he believes they don't earn anything, no matter how much money they owe or how much or how long they voted for. He will, however, not be afraid to take away a leg or an arm.
There is a big difference between not killing someone and them maintaining all their fingers.
Yes, exactly.
Zahn will nod and he'll say, I believe their leader is associated with the museum group. He'll use the Asian term, which basically means walking dead. However, the mercenaries, he'll shrug and say, more than likely they could be talked around if money was offered.
We'll offer them a portion of goodwill and make it so that they can freely move more around Hong Kong than they are now. I prefer them be watched, but I have no problem offering them a temporary contract in the city. Their leader, I have no desire to speak to.
I shall continue to serve as a go-between in that case.
I hate to put someone of your position into such a unfortunate position.
Zahn shrugs nonchalantly. From Zahn's perspective, he views the triads in the kind of, the ways that they might have been seen 50 years ago, the people who take care of the poor and who, dispense justice to those who the police won't. He maybe has a very rosy idea of them.
Well, the funny thing is you're probably talking to the one person in the whole triad that feels the same way.
Mm-hmm. So he will look down and he will say, also, it seems to me that there have been a number of interesting supernatural accounts in the docks. I'm also led to understand that he uses the term "Walking Dead" again, have started to infest the Walled City district?
Yeah, Kowloon, the Walled City district.
Yes, and are using it as their personal hunting and feeding ground. I'm most disturbed by this.
When you say that, you'll see that Ping Mai has reached for the rocket launcher and sets it on his shoulder. So they're up to their old tricks. Tell me, is V Masters back? I was told she was dead.
Out of character, who's he referring to?
Somebody you wouldn't know because you're still kind of new to what's going on in the city, especially from the supernatural standpoint.
I was going to say, prior to this, Zahn just did his criminal things. He doesn't do it yet. He will shrug and he will say, I don't know the name, sir.
Is there a word being bandied around like Sabbat?
Yes, sir.
From what I was told, these things are monsters, worse than the other Walking Dead you may be associating with.
He once again he nods his head and he says, "Yes. However, there was a rather disconcerting instant when one of their number bench pressed an articulated truck above their head, walked it into the walked it onto a boat, and proceeded to punch a hole in the boat."
So that's what happened to that boat.
Yes, sir.
Was a minor holding company, nothing to be worried about. But such a thing had to be covered up.
I'm more disconcerted at the fact that entities like this can do that and have been doing that. So I would worry as to what they're doing to the poor and disadvantaged of the walled city district.
Find out what you can. If you need any type of extra support, let me know.
Indeed. As I've said, if we can identify their bases of operations, perhaps there should be a sudden and unexplainable fire.
Unexplainable fire is always good, but I prefer something that has a trace to it. A trace to individuals like the Russian syndicate.
Perhaps they're selling cheap bootlegged gasoline again.
Highly likely. Now, understand that you have a few questions you wanted to find out from me.
Yes, sir. He will he will ask, are you acquainted with a man named Arthur Wainwright?
Yes, he maintains the chemical requirements of certain individuals of the city. That's his way of saying he makes drugs.
Yes. How would you rate the caliber of his? How would you rate the caliber of his wares?
He'll just kind of smile. He seems to excel at the making of herbal supplements. However, his harder chemical capacities are not as fitting. I have no problem with the man, besides the fact that he's a Guaylo and that he seems to be somewhat of importance among the museum people. I maintain our relationship simply because it's some really good pot.
Understood, sir. I was just curious as I had a conversation with him the other day.
In regards to what?
Nothing of real note. Just curious. He mentioned that he was acquainted with you.
Yes, he and I have worked together on distribution of proper medicinal things.
Zahn will nod and he will say, I understand. On another note, I have ascertained what it is that the Serena Novak woman exactly wanted from us.
What's that?
She was trying to sell us weaponry of an experimental grade and nature.
So things that could possibly blow up and take out my own people.
He'll contemplate that and he'll say, not from my understanding, no. She wanted to sell us high-grade EMP weaponry.
EMP weaponry, for what purpose?
I'm not exactly certain. I was led to understand that she thought that they would be successful in taking down the Myrmidon suits that have been recently deployed by the Hong Kong PD.
Those are a bit of a hassle, aren't they? From what I understand, they're only to be used against foreign and domestic terrorist incidents. Not something we in particular have to fear. My question is, do we have any idea why she would make these things and think that we would use them?
He will contemplate for a moment and he will say, I'm not exactly sure, in all honesty. Merely that she thought that we might find them of value. They could, however, be used to knock out security systems or any other automated services as much as they could knock out a Myrmidon, however.
I did not consider that as an option. My alarm crackers will be put out of business.
Zahn shrugs. But I was contemplating perhaps some semblance of demonstration. If they are worth nothing, then we have gained, then we have lost nothing. If they are worth something, then they are worth something.
My question is, would using such things bring about the attention of the people in Novatech? I know for a fact that they have ties with the People's Liberation Army currently stationed in the city.
Ugh. There's a kind of a ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know, sir. However, the fact of the matter is that I believe the attention of the Novatech. How would he explain this? I believe that the attention of the Novatech are currently very, 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 very widely spaced at the moment. They've had more problems recently than they've had good news, and it might help in the event that we become a target, that we have an ace in our sleeve.
Yes, that is suitable. However, I have no wish to deal with this individual either.
Once again, sir, I will quite happily see to it.
I have to say, ever since you pulled your nose out of the numbers, you've been a lot more productive.
One does what one can, sir.
Keep it up.
I've already made my fortune. Now I want adventure. He sounds somewhat kind of, not quite sarcastic, but kind of, over the top melodramatic.
He'll chuckle at that. I used to want adventure too until I realized that the true treasure of this city is with the populace, not with any money or any land or any property. It's living on in the hearts of the people that make the difference.
Very true, sir. So, as it stands, he kind of stands and kind of brushes himself off. To sum up, I will try to locate any information that might have been gathered from this fallen Novatech, or he uses the term technocratic because it's just the term he's come to know to use, facility that they might have linked to us. I shall extend our warmest welcomes and offers of intro contracts to these mercenaries, and shall see that Novak is given her chance to demonstrate her technology.
Sounds very good.
Oh, and I will locate the Sabat. Haha, I knew there was something else.
I'd appreciate it. One more thing.
Yes, sir.
I find your retinues a little underpowered. Have them report to the armory for upgrades.
Thank you, sir. I shall do so. It was my he kind of stops himself. I've hired a new woman to in order to help train up some more men. Considering how important the Docklands have apparently become, I feel as though I should be able to protect the people more than I already do.
Sounds appropriate. What can you tell me about this person?
He will reach into his pocket and remove Kimberly's business card, whose name I can't currently remember. Tony, that's it.
Tony Jiang.
He will push it across the table. She's a recently arrived mercenary expat. I believe her father's Japanese. She actually comes highly recommended. Question. In the day we've had to look into her, like any just basic background information on, does she come highly recommended?
She's kind of a... Because I don't have the background sitting in front of me right now, I can't really say. I would say that she knows what she's doing, and she has qualified military and martial skills. So she definitely is more than capable of training some thugs to be proper soldiers.
Okie dokie. He will push that across the table. So yes, I think that's about it. Unless there's anything else you want to say, sir?
Nothing I can think of. You know what... I don't know how you fit in with the people in the tower. I've never questioned your abilities because they bring results. But if you were to become compromised by the people at the museum, you would let me know, correct?
Sir, I'm a servant of Hong Kong. I will always be a servant of Hong Kong. First and foremost, I believe you represent the best interests of the people who are my parishioners, whose prayers and words I hear on a daily basis. That is why I am a loyal servant, because you represent the people. That is an important defining factor. The people in the tower drink their blood, abuse them, push them around. They make them seem as if they are little less than cattle. He shrugs. There is no competition for my loyalty, sir.
I'm gratified to hear that. You may think me descending into madness. I've heard the rumors from everybody else, but you are one of the few people that understands what is going on in this city. I have been told that by informing others of this city, others of my people, that I put their lives in risk, and I will never do such a thing. Therefore, I'm gratified to have somebody else in the organization besides Bainu who I can talk about this stuff with.
Yes.
However, I will
on,
also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
he says, on the topic of Bainu, I recently met the. Would the term lad or gentleman be appropriate in his case?
He is still under the age of 18, and he is. I will always consider him to be the same boy I met all those years ago,
Yes,
despite
sir.
what's occurred.
Understood, sir. He has some. I was curious, some cognitive issues.
When I first met him, when I first encountered him, he was but 10 or 11 years old. He had been turned into a workhorse. They laughingly gave him the nickname Bainu. They didn't tell me anything else about him, but I watched him grow. I watched what they forced him to do. From what I understand, the drugs that they gave him when he was captured robbed him of his memory. He started brand new, knowing only the life of a slave. They had had him for 3 years before I had found him, and I had been working to free him ever since. You can imagine my shame when the people of the museum accomplished in a night what I could not in 4 years.
Zahn nods. The boy is of prestigious prestigious strength, sir, and he could be a valuable asset. Prodigious. That's the word, not prestigious. Prodigious. Haha.
Yes, he's always been a strong one. How he got his nickname, for example, though for what they ended up purposing him towards, I understand why they chose the name White Bull. It is not something I am comfortable discussing. I'm sure you could find out on your own his past, but be aware of what you may be finding. It's not something that is pleasant.
Yes.
Fortunately for Bainu, I was able to locate the other slaves into suitable positions within the organization, getting them health care, getting them food, water, lodgings. There's an entire floor of this hotel that is dedicated to their well-being. He has kept his girlfriend and her brother as his friends. He has become a bit more distant than I recall. Has something happened to him?
Zahn contemplates that and he says, he has been, from my understanding, those in the museum have been using him as. He doesn't want to say that he can tell he's kind of uncomfortable. They've been using him to fight their battles for them, placing him on the front lines in great danger.
He'll kind of look uncomfortable at this and kind of look a little ticked off. Has he volunteered for these missions, or have they forced him to do it?
I don't know, sir.
I want you to grow closer to Bainu. Talk to him. Figure out what's going on.
Yes, sir.
He has always been the type to protect others at his own cost. That is one of the things I've always admired about him. When I first met him, a young boy of Korean descent, one of their slaves had fallen in his duties and had injured himself. The Tong, as you know, are not particularly engrossed in kindness, and they were going to punish the child repeatedly. Bainu stepped in front of the child and took the punishment himself to prevent his friend from injury. That is the kind of person Bainu is. That is the kind of man he will become.
Zahn nods and he says, only through freeing ourselves within can we free ourselves without, or so says the Tao.
He'll nod his head.
But yes, I can. Ever since I'm going to assume, since we were both in the same organization, I might have met Riker in passing.
Yeah.
Ever since Mr. Lynch's unfortunate
accident, so
Yes.
I'm told.
Yes, the boy has lacked a mentor. I think that is exactly what he requires.
He deals with his own people. From what I understand, there is the owner of the Club Indulgences that has been dealing with him as well. However, I want to make sure he's not being mistreated, because if they are mistreating him, I'll blow their shit up.
Yes, sir. Zahn will kind of, he will nod his head and he will bow and he will say, I shan't take up any more of your time, sir.
It has been pleasant to have this discussion. We should do it again in about another month or so.
Indeed. I shall inform you if if any of my current operations and research pan out.
He'll nod, and at this point, he'll actually set the rocket launcher down. Good evening, Jean Sushen.
Good evening, sir.
I know I butchered the last name. I apologize for that.
Quite all right. It literally means he who stands upon the. It's like he who stands on the mountain or something like that.
Okay.
He will walk out of the room. He kind of presses his thumb and his forefinger to his head, now contemplating. Oh dear, I'm gonna have to go to the slums and find crazy vampires later. Why my life?
Door will close, and you'll make your way out the same way you made your way in. Your guards, of course, will. They look like they're having fun, but once you show back up, they'll snap right to attention.
He will say, gentlemen, it would seem as though we are to stay here for a little while longer. You are to go down to the armory and take what has been allocated to you and to the new hope and to the new trainees. So go, snap to it.
They'll bow to him in the proper fashion, and they'll head out.
Once again, he contemplates everything. Everything in this universe happens to Zahn. I think that's everything, Brett.
That's everything. So thank you, players, for playing. We actually had somebody watching, so thank you for watching. This has been another edition of Hong Kong House of Cards, Underworld Edition. Sorry, what?
I said $10 says it's stolen.
We're still live, so I wouldn't make that that bet yet. Have a good night.